All right. Good morning, everybody, and good morning for us in US, and good evening for people in Aligarh and across the world and wherever you are. Assalamu alaikum. This is Ali Muzaffar, the current chair of SSGSA, Sir Syed Global Scholar Award, and today we are having the third webinar in the series on effective communication and networking for successful professional careers. So with me today, we have Syed Ali Rizvi Bhai, who is the president of Resolve Corporation, president for Vision Aid, executive member, chairman, board trustee of Federation of Aligarh Alumni Association. And Ali Bhai has been a mentor for me for a long time, and he has been always a great supporter for Aligarh in general, a very dynamic alumni you all should know about, and obviously I'm looking forward to learn from him as well today, and I'm sure this will be a great interactive session. So this series of webinars is actually started with a motive to help scholars, but later we find out that all these webinars will always also be helpful for other students in Aligarh and in general all across the world. So we are going to make this public, and this is a recorded session. So you will be getting the video after this, and obviously we can take notes during the presentation. So I will be also sharing my experience after Ali Bhai's talk about effective communication and networking. Some instruction before I hand over to Ali Rizvi Bhai is for you guys is to actually be very attentive to the audio. Slides are just for supportive purpose. That means obviously the slide won't tell exact in words what Ali Bhai or me myself would be sharing. So take notes for sure. If you have pen and paper, if you don't have pen and paper, take notes in the on the screen. If you have a laptop right now, that would be great. And ask questions in chat box during the presentation, because we have muted everybody right now. So even if you try to speak, we won't be able to hear you, just for the purpose of avoiding the noise, another means of effective communication here. So ask questions in the chat box during the presentation. We'll be happy to answer them. At the end of the session, we will have a question answer round. So we will be getting your question from audio. You can put your name on the chat box, and then we will unmute you, and then you can ask questions. So don't worry, it will be interactive. That's it for instruction from you, instruction for all of you. It will be very lively. We'll try to make it very interactive session, and hopefully you will enjoy it. So Ali Bhai, with that, I'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much for taking out the time to actually come over. I know that you have busy schedule, and I think we are looking forward. I'm actually thrilled to look forward to actually get some valuable lessons from you. So hand it over to Ali Bhai. Thank you, Ali Bhai.
Okay. Thank you, Ali Muzaffar. And like you said, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in any part of the world. So welcome to the third webinar in the series that Sir Syed Global Scholar Award has initiated. Thank you to every one of you who has joined, as it really shows that you all have a keen interest and motivation in trying to find ways to enhance your skills, particularly networking and communications. Now these, if you do it earlier in life, they will hold you in good stead for a long-term gain. Ali Muzaffar, thank you for the series of webinars. Perhaps many of I think everyone on the webinar today knows that Ali Muzaffar is himself a SSGSA awardee and currently the chair of SSGSA. During his term, we have seen a huge enhancement in the services and the quality of information and interactivity provided to our people. And in a very, very short time, he also has shown through sheer hard work and engagement, risen to take responsibility as the chairman of SSGSA. So thank you, Ali.
Thank you again.
I am also grateful to, I don't think Wasiqul is on the line, but I'm grateful to Wasiqul Islam, who also is an SSGSA awardee, and he also, in a short span of time, has totally immersed himself into the good work of SSGSA. He's very positive, keen, and has a sense of purpose as well. And last but not the least, one more thank you before I start the presentation is to Rajat Kant Goel. Rajat Goel basically has been helping and engaging with the webinar series, of course, but also in other areas that we needed help. He also, like the others, is SSGSA awardee, and he knows the importance of such a terrific program. If you have lately seen our website, Rajat has done a lot of good work on the website as well, which again, by the way, is still evolving. And many you may not know, I'm not sure if you know it or not, that he also is a good poet in Hindi and in English. He writes poetry both in Hindi and in English. So with these initial thank yous, let's start our today's discussion. So today's webinar is entitled Networking and Effective Communication for Successful Professional Careers. Now here we can use the term careers. You can interchange with a word of your choice. In your job, for example, in your college, in your school, in wherever you are, in whatever phase of life you are in, you can replace that word with the word career. Now, webinars, as you all know, are crucial as they bring the much needed connectivity and proximity, in our case, by the way, between the mentors and mentees. So, जो हम लोग आज बात कर रहे हैं, this also is a very crucial part of effective communication. So what happens here is not only we interact, but we also get a chance to learn from each other. It also brings us closer, and as we all develop a stronger bond, and as you all know, being Alligarians, we have a very strong bond attached to other Alligarians, but you also perhaps feel more comfortable in talking to a mentor once you have talked to them via email or a phone call. So the more communication you have with them, you are in a much higher comfortable zone to talk with them. So the key to our success basically is having a comfortable mentee and a responsive mentor as well. Like Ali seeing on the screen says, no man is an island, so we all live in this area of communication. So 3 basic points or comments I'd like to make about this today's webinar, that all of you are Alligarians, so Aligarh does not only impart education, gyan or ilm, but it also teaches us a way of life. And that is why it is tremendously beneficial for those who live on campus, because 24/7 you are going through a huge change, which you may not realize while you're undergoing the change yourself, but it's happening to you. So that's the first assumption. And number 2, we will not have this webinar as a serious kind of a discussion, but we will try to enjoy the discussion as well. I will try to sprinkle our narrative with short stories or narratives to get the point across to you all. And number 3, and this again I think is a safe assumption, all of you are very bright people because all of you are SSGSA scholars and have been selected from a very bright pool of scholars. So what I'm saying basically in this is that जब आप लोग ताश के पत्ते खेलते हैं कभी, तो you are dealt a set of cards. What I'm saying is that I have been dealt a very good set of cards. I've got very bright people, engaging people, and motivated people to talk about things. So and today, what we will talk about today, perhaps all of you know these things, but it might help you to sharpen your skills also. So what is communication, first of all? You know, if you can go to on a very basic level, you can say the imparting or exchanging of information is communication. In simple words, as you can see on the screen, the process of communication is what allows us to interact with other people. Without it, we would be unable to share knowledge or experiences with anything outside of ourselves. Common forms of communication include, as we all know, speaking, writing, gestures, touch, and broadcasting. And I would add one more thing here. Communication is also what happens within ourselves, oftentimes you sit by yourself and you talk to yourself. You don't hear yourself, but you're internally talking, you're communicating. And that message is so powerful that if in case you keep on talking to yourself and saying, I can do it, I can make it happen, even that will reinforce the desire in you to become better. So communication plays a very crucial role, not with others as well, but also internally. Now, what is effective communication? Effective communication simply is when what you are trying to communicate has the right amount of impact, which means communication that produces greater understanding with the targeted audience or recipient. Now, communication can be both ways. It can be a positive communication or a negative communication. For example, if you go to a restaurant and the food is not good, you have to communicate to the person. You have to tell him, "Sab khana acha nahi banaya tumne aaj." Now, it is negative feedback to him, but it is communication. But you have to say to him in such a way that the message goes across to them. Now, if you are unable to communicate effectively, then your communication is ineffective. तो आप सब अलीगढ़ के हैं, तो let me wrap up this little point of effective communication by saying in two line a share कि अगर अपना कहा तुम आप ही समझे तो क्या समझे, मजा कहने का जब है एक कहे और दूसरा समझे, which means you have to say something and it should be understood by the target audience that you're trying to address to. In all our daily things we see, people are really, really good at communication. I sort of have a small company in which most of my time and work involves is communication with employees, with customers, our suppliers, our purchasing agents, with our governmental authorities, regulatory authorities, outside consultants. So these are all communication. What I say across to them makes my company successful, my customers happy, my suppliers eager to work with us. So it is very important that we go through each and every phase in our communication so that the target audience, we can change our talking to suit different audiences. I am engaged, for example, with my school alumni association, with my university alumni association, with my friends, maintain channels with them, with my family and cousins in India and across the world. So this is, I think, I am effectively communicating with these people. And how do I do it? Many, many years ago, you only had a phone call or a letter. But these days, by technology, you have got social media. You can be in touch with by emails or by phone calls or by plainly sending simple text messages, or maybe in my case, sometimes I send some gifts to my friends in India. So these are all forms of effective communication. Now, both these could be in social gatherings or business gatherings. हम में से बहुत से लोग ऐसे होंगे जो they are gifted or good communicators. People like these do not seem to have like a special effort to make. They simply feel good about talking to people and being with people. And some of us, they are shy of connecting or interacting with other people. कभी-कभी क्या होता है अपने दोस्तों के साथ में you have got a circle of friends and you are comfortable with them in regular communication. लेकिन जो acquaintances होते हैं उनके साथ में you are not so comfortable. You keep them a little at arm's length. So, like you said, see on the screen, formal written communication होता है. You have got informal written communication, which is letters, emails हैं, faxes हैं, which are of course faxes are out of date now, but still there. Memos and reports होती हैं. Then you have informal written communication. Then formal presentations or verbal presentations होते हैं. So most of the time is in some format that you can understand. In other cases, what happens is you may not even talk. आप बिना कुछ कहे ही you can put your point across. And I'll give you some examples. जैसे कि in India many years ago, there was a shortage of blood. You know, for people needed blood in the hospitals. So a company came out with a good slogan, and the slogan was, blood was meant to circulate, period, donate. उसके माने ये हुआ कि what he was trying to say, the message across, it came out so nicely that मुझे आज तक वो बात उनकी याद है, that blood was to circulate, donate. Number two, you send somebody calls you, and they don't get to speak to you, but they hear your ringtone. Without talking to them, you have sent them a message. You are communicating with them. With the theme that you have, the tone of your ringtone that you have, it gives me what kind of person you are. I call somebody in Aligarh very often, the dean of the MBA program, Parvez Talib Saab, and when I call him, I hear a ringtone. It's a song. It's a very patriotic song that he has on that. So I get his message. I call somebody else, and they have some music, Bollywood music or Western music. So without talking to me, I have gotten some communication. These are non-verbal, these are just by virtue of one-way communication as well that we're talking about. So you have to be very careful how do you communicate. I often get emails from people, and when the email comes to me, on the bottom when they sign the names, sometimes they have a nice line, like a quotation from somebody. If any of you have gotten an email from me, on bottom line it says, for example, stay blessed, live long and prosper. That is my theme line I give out. There are some people who give out a line like, I have a friend of mine who says, I did not let my schooling interfere with my education. And there are some who have a different line on the signatures. Basically, what it happens is, without even reading your message on the email, I know what you're thinking about, what your philosophy is. The communication equation, like you see on the screen, it says, you must have what you hear. The tone is important, for example. The quality. The same thing I say to you, say, for example, I say, it can have a sarcastic notation or it can have a regular notation. So the tone of voice, the vocal clarity, the way you express yourself, these are all, when somebody hears, that makes about 40% of your message that goes across. And then, of course, there are things like facial expression and the dress and grooming that you have. These are what you see or feel from the communication. What you say exactly, research has said, about 10% of it is a message that people get from your actual word content that you do. So let's sum up by saying, in the effective communication skills, and again you see on the screen, the main important ingredients are, when you're talking to somebody, an important part also is listening. Always, communication does not mean that you only talk. When you listen to somebody else, their ideas, their thoughts, it gives you some more fodder to talk to them afterwards about what they are doing or what is their interest, and that's what people want to talk about. So that will be opening your way to them for effective communication skills. So you should have some questions, of course, to ask of them. When you talk with them, make an eye contact so they know you are talking to them. And the tone will give the intensity of your communication. The body language, for example, you're standing straight, looking at them, bending down. You said a salam to somebody, but how you say it also has a lot of tone to it. Same, once you have done the communication, you can summarize in your mind or talk to them. One thing is very, very crucial is you should always have a very positive and a smiling face or demeanor so that people can see the effect that they're having while talking to you. This section ko, if you can talk now in just one share, I will say it again because aap log Aligarh ke hain. The good communication or effective communication skills can be summarized in one share. It just says, कौन सी बात कहाँ कैसे कही जाती है, ये सलीका हो तो हर बात सुनी जाती है. So this is our second way that what you say, when you say, how you say it, and all these components will make for effective communication. Now, communication, of course, is in different ways. How can you not communicate to people? It is because after you back in a place, there is noise in the background. The language you're talking about, kahin Isa, padhe Musa, somebody's talking in English, aapne jawab diya usko in German, he does not know German. That is a problem. There are too many questions that you ask people and they lose interest in you. Or the topic that you're talking about may not have the right information for you, so you lose interest, and therefore these are the effective barriers to communication. And there may be many others, but these are some ideas that you can get on. Next slide, Ali. So here are the 7 C's of an effective communication that we talk about. Communication can, of course, be in technical communication in your who are science students, for example, or engineering students. Then you can have, if you're in academia, you're having more academic communication. For people like me, we discuss more in commercial terms, so we have commercial communication. So range from research papers and posters and projects and grant writing and thesis, those are more subjects of technical or academic communication. But in here, whatever your communication is, in academia or technical communication or commercial communication, you have to be, these 7 things are very, very pertinent. One, you have to be very, very clear about your communication, what you're trying to say. It has to be brief. Nobody has got a lot of time to look at your entire thesis. You have to have a concrete idea that you're talking about, and then it has to be correct. You just can't have something incorrect and affect to have a good communication, because people will lose interest in that. You have to be coherent. The way you say it, you may have the best ideas, but if you do not have the proper duration in your voice, your tones ups and downs, it may be like a monotone. People may not have the proper interest. You can see the same things in different ways for having more or less or medium impact. And then, of course, it should be complete communication to be effective. And as we all know, in whatever we do, in our homes, outside our homes, in business, in education, in your department, with your professor, with your teacher, with your colleague, your peer, you have to be courteous. Otherwise, what you are saying will fall totally on deaf ears, will not have the desired impact or influence, and therefore will be totally ineffective form of communication. Ali Muzaffar, if you want to give some shots on this in terms of what people say. If you looked at, for example, we talked earlier. Ali, can you go back on the slide? We looked at the email slide that we had.
Yep.
So this would be a good example, Ali. If you can elaborate on this, I think it would be a good example of bad communication, and then, of course, the next slide of good communication.
Yep. Thank you, Ali Bhai. I think what I'm going to talk about. Thank you, Ali Bhai, for giving us the core fundamentals about effective communication. I think that is very important. Everybody, we will be sharing the more practical approach to effective communication when it comes to your higher education or your career. We'll be sharing those materials. But what is important, and what me and Ali Bhai discussed, was that you have to get the core values out first set up before you get those templated out. So just to I'm going to share my experience with effective communication in terms of my master's program, which I did in UC Irvine, and the current job which I'm doing, or all the positions that I'm currently holding. What effective communication to me means. So in general terms, when you go to masters, when you do masters, when you do a PhD, it comes to more of a oral communication, as Ali Bhai discussed. Gestures, tones, and all those things will definitely be there, because you have to talk to your professors, you have to talk to your colleagues who are there in PhD. And believe me, it matters a lot. For example, if you go a first time in a land in US, and there is a new roommate you have, right? And if your tone quality is not nice, if your gestures are not nice, if the way you communicate to him with body language are not nice, the very first impression that you try to put out there is done. The first impression, and you all know that the first impression is the last impression. If you screw up your first impression, that's not going to be a very good thing for you to in future to actually develop your career. So you need to make sure that effective communication is what makes you visible in front of others. And so oral communications, gestures, all those is a part of effective communication, as Ali Bhai discussed. What also is very important as the first impression is the email. For example, if you are looking for a job, now you're looking for a job, you try to send an email because the person you never met, and you're trying to reach out to him, or say, for example, you're reaching out to me or to anybody else who is an alumni, or to Ali Bhai himself. Now, Ali Bhai is not able to see you as a person. He's going to see the email that you wrote to him, the message that you wrote to him. So, for example, here's an example of bad communication. I just put forward. So subject is freshman engineering, very vague subject. I don't know what this guy is trying to say. So this is an example where a student sent an email to a professor. Now, hey professor, the very first line when he's too casual, the way he wrote it, the correctness, the 1C that Ali Bhai talked about, the correctness, the courtesy, is not even shown here. And the way he wrote it, like it's SMS. And the bad part about, I'm like, Ali Bhai, I'm from a generation where I feel like we're taking emails as SMS. We're taking email as a short message. No, I don't think so. I think we need to understand what is different between SMS and an email, proper email communication. So I think if you read this, you'll understand that how this is a very good example of a bad communication. It's like the person actually just woke up and he want to get some question answered by the professor, so he just typed over. What could he have done better, or what is a good way of communication is this one. A good communication, helpful subject line. This part in the communication of a student is asking for a response for a homework, number one. Now you see that a subject line is very concise, as Ali Bhai mentioned, 1C of it's very correct in terms of all the grammatical, all the way of he wrote, the text he used, courtesy, see you on Wednesday, good morning, and all those things are right there. So there is a very good example. So if you remember all the C's, if you remember, so the way, I remember one of my senior colleagues in Deloitte, the way, very first project of Deloitte, he was sitting next to me. He's a Harvard graduate. So the way he makes sure that he wrote a good email is by reading out loud. So every time, like we sit together in a room, every time he writes an email, he'll just read out loud and said, "Oh, why is he doing that?" Then he explained me one day, Ali, if you are able to feel good about or hear good about what you wrote, that means the other person will feel good about it too. So you need to make sure that you are the recipient of that email. So how would you feel? How would you feel getting that email? Take that as a person. The email is actually a person. So if you feel that person is good enough, if you feel that email is good enough to you, that means it will be good enough to you. So make sure that the recipient is you first, rather than always thinking about yourself as a center, and then send an email or talk to somebody. How would you talk to yourself? Hey, I want to talk slowly to myself. Hey, I want to give a good gesture to myself. So all these comes in an effective communication. I think Ali Bhai Ali Bhai covered everything, all the core values. I think that was very, very important for all of us. So I think with that, obviously, this one slide we missed. Obviously, everything, if you don't have effective communication, everything is blah, blah, blah. But effective communication is what joins community, as you can see in the left slide. So with that, I think let's move to the next slide. Ali Bhai, I think that I covered. And again, everybody, if I will be sharing more materials in terms of how to reach out to your professors for a master's program, PhD program, and all those things later after this presentation. But this presentation is more about core values. I think that's very important. Ali Bhai, over to you for the next part.
So thank you, Ali Muzaffar. Really, this was very important too, and this was a very good example, a perfect example of how the recipient perceives what you've written in an email to them. And therefore, before you write an email, it is important to see the content, do a spelling check, spell check, typo. Make sure this all is gone with the proper credentials, the proper etiquettes, the proper content, and it's a complete email in itself. I'll just add one more thing to this, Ali, and this for the other people as well. I get probably hundreds of emails coming from people I know across India, in terms of mentorship or guidance or job prospects or looking for some internships availabilities or many things. And sometimes I do want to help people, but what happens is, or most of the times I want to help them but what happens is the email talks about who the person is and it puts me off. Things like it's not signed, the name is not signed at the bottom. So I know the email is coming from some guy called xyzpranks@gmail.com. I don't even know who the person is, and the person assumes I know them. I do not know them. So if writing in an email, you should have on the bottom, for example, a telephone number that in case somebody wants to connect with you, they can talk to you. Or you can have, if you want to give a message of importance about education to somebody, writing to a professor, you have to be a different way. So you have to craft your individual emails to suit those target audiences, and that is very, very important. Our next topic basically is, we talked about communication, effective communication, and now we talk about networking. जब तक कि आपके पास में skills of communication नहीं होंगी, आप लोग network नहीं कर सकते हैं. And my mantra basically is, your network is your net worth. I cannot really overemphasize enough about this, that your network is your network. जिसको आप जानते हैं, who do you know, how do you know them, they will be able to help you in every walk of life. It is important in any social networking or business networking, academic networking. This could be, again, in a physical way, you could be via talking to somebody face-to-face in networking, or it could be a keyboard networking, like we do oftentimes on connecting with somebody on a social media site or on Facebook or LinkedIn. Those are also trying to network. And therefore, it helps you, networking helps you in getting your work done in a basic way. Basically what networking is, जिसको हम लोग कभी-कभी कहते हैं, साहब हमारे contact वहाँ पर है, हमारा जुगाड़ वहाँ पर है, ये in a more refined way, in a more respectful way, in a more literate way, you can say your network basically becomes what you call in India, हमारे connections हैं, हमारे जुगाड़ हैं, हमारे contacts हैं. Those are people who will be in every walk of life. They will be people who will be helping you. So this is basically, it involves a career conversation with someone for the purpose of getting some work done. And networking basically is building and maintaining those contacts and relationships with other people. So, like I said, please, all of you, keep in mind, your network is your net worth. Maintain and massage those contacts that you have. Now, what will these networks help you with? As I said, explore career, explore jobs in the industry, in academia, getting an internship, getting a promotion, getting help from across different industry people that you know. You'll find very good mentors who'll be networking with you. Through them, you'll find new ideas, new innovations. They can help you with inspiration. So these are the positivities that you get out of your networking. Now, where do you find people to network with? All around you. जब घर पे होते हैं आप, you're networking with your family, of course, that's a social thing you're doing, or with your friends. But it is simply not only about careers and jobs and internships and volunteer opportunities. It's also, for example, with your professors, your supervisors, or professionals you meet at career fairs or job fairs or at admission symposiums. But it also is important because what you do in their places is people make a mental note of who they're meeting. And in terms of social connectivity, these days is very, very important. I mean, for example, when I go to India often and I come back, I get a ton of requests on Facebook to friend somebody. The first thing I do is I look at who they are. And if on their Facebook page or in their LinkedIn profile, if they have things like which does not suit me, I don't think he's worthy of my being a friend with me, I decline saying, I'm sorry, we don't see eye to eye, because it's a waste of my time. You have to make sure that you're networking with people who can help you. But if I'm trying to network with somebody else and I can't help them, it's no use for me to network with them. Now, in terms of social networking, of course, you can do through Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram, all these Tumblr, Meetup, and all these apps you have these days, Messenger, WhatsApp, and WeChat, Instagram, and Viber, and so on. But whereas professional websites are concerned, can you move on to the next slide, Ali? So, no, previous one. Yeah, so networking, when you talk about networking, as I said earlier, the LinkedIn is by far the most important networking site that we have these days. And many people come to me from AMU, of course, primarily, who want to be on my LinkedIn Connect. And I see what they've written to me. If somebody sends me a little connectivity saying, I want to connect with you on your LinkedIn, I try to not connect with them easily. I want somebody to have written to me a personal sort of a message saying, dear Mr. Rizvi, or dear Ali Saab, or dear Ali Bhai, I'd like to connect with you because I need some help in my professional career. It means that the person has taken some positive steps towards trying to be with me in my professional LinkedIn systems, and then I will do that. So it is not only about exchanging a business card or writing an email to me to connect, or I got some call from somebody who was my LinkedIn contact for about maybe 6-7 years, and then one day he writes to me saying, can you please refer me to somebody in India regarding a loan? And I said, I don't even know who you are. I mean, you are on my LinkedIn, but you've never been talking to me. I don't even know what you do. I can see on your profile, but that's about it. Where do you come from? What's your background? I don't know. So it's not only that you just give them an email or be on their profile or are you friends with them, but you must also be engaged on a continuous way. And if you can go to the next slide, Ali, if you can. So these are the crucial steps in networking. You build a lifelong relationship. So oftentimes when you, not only, and I see people thinking about, anniversary, job anniversary. You know what, I'm not sure how in LinkedIn they have these job anniversaries for me. Pure saal humko hi aaya karta ki, happy anniversary on your job or something. I don't have an anniversary for a job, but people think I have got those. So not those kind of connectivities. But say, for example, you write a small little email saying, you know what, I have just passed my master's program, I'm going for a PhD program. I finished my undergrads and now I'm going to be based in Pune, for example, for an internship. So that way, as you're growing and you're engaged with me, then I see, oh my God, so over the years, I will follow you. I can see what you're looking at. You were at Aligarh, then you went to Calcutta for an internship, you went to Hyderabad, you came back to Aligarh. So I know what's happening in your life. I feel connected to you. I want to work with you. And this is what you call by building a lifelong relationship. And then, of course, this is how, once this is done, we help our contacts. Networking will be, we'll be helping you. You come to me and ask for some placements in India, some internships in India, some professors, or how to write to a professor or a grant or something, I can help you. And therefore, I'll be caring about my contacts like you'll be caring about other people. So that is important. So the dialogue has to be continuous. You speak and listen to your contacts, and that will be networking. So networking is nothing really but building a long-term, stable alliance, relationship, and friendship. Next, Ali. So, when you are into a networking relationship with somebody, when you are networking with someone, it's not a one-way street. It has to be a give and take. What we can look at is not only what I receive from you, but you can also look at what can I add to the relationship. And that is also very, very important for a relationship to exist. But let me give you one more example. A few, maybe months ago, somebody called me after being in my network for probably 6-7 years. He called me up and said, Ali bhai, I need some help. And before he started off, he said, you know what, Ali Bhai, was thinking that I've known this guy for 7 years, but he has not ever contacted me, and today he is contacting me. And I said, you are right. I've never followed you. But he told me one good thing which caught my attention. And what he said to me was, and I'll share it with you, that Ali Bhai, I have called you in times of need, in my trouble. What it means is that I value your relationship so much that I'm calling you when I need help desperately. तो और उस दोस्ती हमारी होगी, लेकिन I value you so much that I am calling you. So maybe not in 7 years, but because I didn't feel I needed your help. So maybe I have been a bad person not contacting you, but because you are a person I look up to, would you not help me? So the way he communicated with me, I said, sure, of course. And then we talked, and we went on with our thought process and so on, doing things with them. So it is important when you are in network, if you are missing some steps somewhere, things like आप उनको अक्सर कॉल करें, उनको पूछें हम जा रहे हैं, what is happening in life. You would see some things happening on their LinkedIn. They change jobs. They have made a promotion. They've gone to a new location. Send them a note, not the usual ones, thumbs up or nahi. Write something which shows you've taken the pains of connecting with them. Like somebody was saying, when you are doing networking in a physical setting, what are important things? एक तो ये होता है कि सब you must be in a smiling mode. So when you're talking to somebody, they will not want to talk to somebody who's like a grumpy looking person. One smile can disarm your worst enemies as well. It works wonders. So be always of receptive mode, be personable, welcoming. When you go to some place and you don't talk to, you have to be well dressed to be able to have that network, because nobody wants to be talking to somebody. And I don't mean expensive clothing. What I mean, dress for the occasion. You go to somebody's formal party, a formal gathering, and you come in shorts and jeans and in a pajama and a kurta. It will not work. So you maintain the decorum of where you're going. Then you should have proper etiquettes in the networking, in a physical networking as well. And these, by the way, go across in physical networking scenarios or also into the keyboard networking that you have across the world. And then, of course, when you are in a dialogue with somebody or talking to somebody on certain subjects and you tend to disagree with their ideas, you learn the art of agreeing to disagree. And also, you should be seen in the right places at the right time. So when you're in the networking mode, you talk to some people, and you don't ask for favors or ask for special concessions when you are in a group of 10 people. Wahan par sirf you're connecting with a person and being a group person, talking to them. And later on, this chance of having a one-on-one talk and networking can evolve afterwards. Ali, if you can go to the next one. So how do you get started? Like I said, there were first some prerequisites about those, and then do not be afraid to reach out to anyone that you think can help you. The only thing is, we first talk about communication. You have to have the effective message in your communication to them to be able to, for them to be receptive to your idea. But don't be afraid to reach out to anyone, number one. Number two, you should find common areas or references when calling out. Somebody calls me from India and said to me, no, Ali Bhai, I'm looking for some investment into a hotel I'm buying in a place called Phuket in Thailand. How do I connect there? I mean, I'm not in Thailand, I'm not in Phuket, and I don't even, so you don't have the same frequency and match with the person. So get off my back. Don't do it. Same, next, respect and value your relationship like friendship. So when you're respecting somebody in a networking session, in a meeting with them, you value their time as well. Do not bombard them. Do not overkill them with too much information, too many emails, too many contacts, too many WhatsApp and chats and so on and so forth. Give them some space. Respect their boundaries. Let them mature into your alliance with them and talking to you. That is very, very, very important. Now, you should also have contact management. How will you store your data that you have with them? So find some ways, like I do. For example, I'll tell you how I network with some people. I do have a calendar, and oftentimes on certain Mondays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays, I will call around my family or friends in India or my business partners or my colleagues in my business or other. So there is a mix of social and business connectivity and family connectivity all across. It is important. I've spent a better part of my life in the USA than in India, but I am equally comfortable. I can speak perfectly good Urdu, perfectly good English, and I maintained. This is who I am. I want to maintain my roots in India, and so I do call. I call my cousins in India often. I call my friends in India. I call AMU. I call my professors, my deans at AMU to see how things are happening, what's going on. Can we help with somebody at the MBA department to find a placement or an internship or a summer job or summer placement or get some lectures organized at AMU? So we do that. And that is why, because so I need to keep connectivity with those people and network with the department as what's going on. Next, Ali. The important thing, again, about the connectivity also is how will people look at you and see you. And as Ali mentioned earlier, when Ali Muzaffar was talking about, people these days don't see each other. For example, I'll give an example. We have perhaps, and Ali, please correct me if I'm wrong, about 60 or 70 SSGSA scholars in North America.
Yeah.
And I have perhaps met maybe 7 or 8 or 9 of those scholars. So many of these scholars who have come in, they've come to Chicago, to California, to Cleveland, to Canada, wherever. Some are in the Boston area. I have not met all of them, but I do have a very strong connectivity with them. I know they are part of a family of our scholars. And when somebody needs me, they often call me. I mean, not only calling me for things about your academics, looking for somebody's lab, where do I do some internships at some university or with some industry leaders or make them get a job or a placement or visa situation. Things like what's happening in their family. Somebody calls and says, my father's he wants to move back to India. What do I do? So once you have that network, not only your professional help is given to you, but also personal help is given to you. So it's so good to have somebody who thinks about you as passionately as you think about yourself. But how will they know you? How will you engage with them? When you're writing something, you make sure, or they are writing something, you comment. When you comment on blogs or on podcasts, or you answer these LinkedIn questions, make sure that your message is consistent with your personality, that you're positive. Because I would not want to be aligned to somebody I don't feel comfortable with. And that is important. So in all your footprint that you have, the social media footprint, the technical footprint that you have outside, on your LinkedIn profile, what you have, what do you do? That is very, very important, because before I speak to you, I talk to you, I look at you and I say, yes, this is a person worthy of my engagement or connectivity. And like you say here, at the bottom of your emails, if you have an email, your signature line should include your profile or a website, and also some things about what you've done. These days, and I'm sure all of you know, and perhaps Ali Muzaffar can tell you afterwards, things like MOOCs, EDX in Boston, or Coursera. If you take certain courses, these days people add their course certificate. For example, you take something from EDX, which is a Harvard program, they are doing something right here. You can add into your email or into your profile. What it does is, it tells me, oh my God, sitting in Aligarh, this person is so motivated that they've gone ahead of their comfort zone, they've gone outside, they have been able to go online, take a course, and pass the course, and here's a certificate. Oh my God, this guy is charged, he's motivated. Yes, I'd like to help him out. So without you talking to me, I'm also networking with you as well, because I want to network with you, because I want to help you out. So in your email, when you say some things, those are important steps. And these are, again, some basic steps when you're contacting some alumni or professionals in the area. If you look at if you're connected to someone on LinkedIn and you want to contact somebody else, some alumni, do not hesitate to talk to Ali Muzaffar or me or anybody who you know in that zone and say, would you be kind to help me with getting to know this person? He can help me. And that's one. Number two, you can join professional groups that are in your area of expertise or in your area of interest that you're trying to go into. Then again, you have to look for opportunities to find, to interact, and to develop relationships. And that you can do by having a constant two-way communication between you and the people in your networks. And number three, do not copy other people. We are all unique in the same family, in the same household. Two brothers, two siblings are not alike in every respect. So how can you be rather in some of the shoes? So be who you are. People will like you for who you are. They'll appreciate. And we all have fears. Many, many years ago when I was in India, I too had this fear of many things. For example, when I was going to my visa at the US Embassy in India, I was scared. I'm not sure if I'll get my visa. What if in case I don't get my visa? What do I do then? So we all have the same fears, but you be original and things will happen. Things will make sure that happens. So here's a nice slide that Ali Muzaffar has put through for all of us is, what do you need to do for good networking? Put your best foot forward. You go to some place, do not sit by yourself in one place because you've gone to a gathering, an event, a professional event, a department picnic or something. Be out there. Talk to some people. Develop the art of talking to someone. Don't be afraid to say hello to people who are around you. It just means that you are nervous. And it's okay to be nervous, but try to shed that nervousness by taking the first step out of your comfort zone. Number two, when you're networking, remember, others you're meeting, they also are looking at the same. They're trying to network with other people as well. So you have to be, like it says right here, elevator pitch, which means for a 30-second you are with somebody, you have that, his or her attention. Be quick, concise, and exactly accurate as to what do you want from them. And say what message you want to take from them, or what should they take with you. When they go from you, what should they know about you? For example, when you're having a simple handshake with somebody at a networking session, in most cases I have found at the end of my discussion, I tend to forget the person's name because in that group I met 70 people and I forget their names. At the end of the discussion, I forget who was who. So what I do is before I move on, I say, hey, do you still remember my name? Ali Rizvi, A-L-I-R-I-Z-V-I. Do you? Oh, yeah, I do. And if they tend to forget, I make something more memorable. For example, like the great boxer Muhammad Ali. I don't box though, but my name is Ali. Believe me, they will never forget me because now I have made an attachment. It's memorable to them and they will remember it. That's important. Number three is follow up and maintain relationships. Listen and learn. As I said earlier, it's not only about talking, but about listening to others because you learn from them as well. Quid pro quo. You cannot expect to. It's a one-way, not one-way traffic. You give something, you get something in return. It's a both-way traffic. You have to engage with people. And patience. It's not a short-term engagement. It's a long-term, continuous engagement. And number three, be prepared to ask questions. If you have any questions that you want to ask them, do not worry about the question being appropriate or inappropriate. Sometimes I feel, by the way, even now I sometimes feel, should I ask this question? Because say, for example, I don't know much about nanotechnology. And I was talking to a professor at AMU, Alim Naqvi Sahab, and in talking to him, I asked some basic questions because they were looking for some MOU or alliance between AMU and the Cornell University in New York, and we had to talk about it. He was a thorough gentleman because he said, sure, of course. And he gave me some basics about what he's looking for. So he was educating me. So prepare to ask questions from your people. Next, Ali. Now, these are, like it says in the red, what is not to do. Okay? You should not have no contact with your regular contacts. You must maintain regular contact with your people that you are only networking. You should not only speak, but you must also listen. As I said earlier, respect boundaries and always be thankful. I'm telling you, it works wonders. Just by saying thank you, it works wonders. And also, I'll give you one more example before we move on. We had gone to, many years ago, we had gone to Italy me and my wife had gone to Italy, and we forgot to take the visa for the Vatican. Those days I was not a U.S. citizen, I was only having a green card, and did not know that I had a visa for Italy, but for the Vatican, I need to have a separate visa. So when we went to the Vatican outside, they asked us for a visa. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't have a visa. And the guy said, I'm sorry, you cannot go into the Vatican. And I said, what do I do? And he said, well, you go back to your country and get your visa and come again. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't go back. And I'm here for 7 days in Italy. You want me to go back to America and come back again and get a visa and come again here? He said, yes, exactly. And I said, is there any other way I can go to the Vatican inside? And the guy there said to me, oh yes, there's a way. If you know somebody in the Vatican, then they can issue you what is called a temporary visa or today visa. So he said to me, do you know somebody in the Vatican? And I was there with my wife, and I said to him, oh yes, I know someone. He said, who do you know? You can contact them. And I said to him, well, I know the Pope. The guy looked at me and said, what did he say? And I said, I know the Pope. He knew the Pope? I said, yes, I know him. Now, he does not know me, but I know him. So it was a good laugh, but it was able to unnerve him, get his guards down. He went inside, spoke to supervisor, came out. We had a talk with them, and they were gracious. They allowed us to enter the Vatican. What I'm saying is that when you network with people, you talk to people in the right way, things can happen, they can do wonders, they can open doors, and you will enjoy yourself. And one last thing is, in my case, often happens is I get so many emails or Facebook messages from people in India, from Aligarh, and I'm very selective of who I make my friend myself on Facebook. One thing is, and Ali Muzaffar, if I see you on their friends' contacts, I friend them. That's one thing. And the second thing is, if I see like maybe 50 matches between my friends and their friends, I think it's safe to make them my friends or accept their friendship on Facebook. Same thing on LinkedIn. Before I go and accept them, I see the profile. And oftentimes, people say to me, "Sir, aap mujhe bhool gaye, aapse hum Aligarh mile the hum ye." So never be afraid to reintroduce yourself to your contact, to networking person. Because people like me, you tend to forget because we don't meet you so often. So those are certain things that you should follow in do's and don'ts of networking. And the last one I would have very briefly would be do's and don'ts of social media. I think it's a very important, pertinent thing to say. And that is, we all have an online presence. Please maintain a good online presence. Number 2, if you are in a professional space with somebody, LinkedIn or any other professional site, do not worry. If you want to, you do ask for endorsements. If you don't know the person, go to your primary contact and see if they can help you get an endorsement or a testimonial. Not a problem. Your profile enhances in value if you have more testimonials, if you have more endorsements from people for your expertise. So go ahead, don't be shy about it, because that is your face to the world outside. If you use Twitter and you're tweeting stories, make sure what you tweet, because I can be looking at your tweets and I will know what kind of person you are. So you should maintain absolute clarity as to what message you want to give outside to the world about who you are. So if you are the person that is on the tweets, your tweets must be good, or else I will know you may have the best profile, but the tweets would tell me that no, he's not what he says he is. So please make sure you do that. If you are interested in certain, say for example, universities or labs or companies, then follow them. See what happens over the years. Say, for example, you are scholars, you want to go next year at some university. Go on their website and attach yourself there, because something happens, they sign an MOU, they hire somebody new. What's happening there, you would know. So when the time comes to apply, you will have much more information about that university or that professor or that lab or that company, because you have followed them for a year. Otherwise, you have to struggle for the right words to talk to them. On LinkedIn profile, for example, this is a professional site. So be professional, remain only professional, and be mature. People will watch what are your interests, what is your profile, who are your connections, and are they relevant? So maintain a professionalism on your profile. And last but not least is you should sign on groups that are in your industry or your area of interest or expertise. And one more, social media is social. If you're taking a selfie, you want to share a selfie, you have privacy settings. Make sure that what you don't want to show to me should go only to your friends or your family or whoever you want to, but do not make it known to everybody around in the world. People are these days hiring, and they're talking about placements, promotions, and they go by visiting your websites, your blogs, your writings, your social profiles, your whatever you have out there. So please make sure you maintain some way of enhancing yourself in the eyes of others by maintaining the proper etiquettes and the proper profile on your websites. With these words, I will leave it to Ali Muzaffar Saab so he can look at it now.
Thank you so much, Ali Bhai. I think that was very, very important lessons in networking. I remember that when I first landed in US, I talked to Ali Bhai like for an hour or two, and he actually gave me that line, your network is your network. And I after that, I have used it in so many networking events, believe me guys. I'll tell them, I said, wow, that's very interesting. So it actually those kind of like makes me memorable. What Ali Bhai told me, like I'm using him a little bit to make myself feel memorable. But the point is, I think I've learned a lot about networking from him, and I'm like I want to actually share. That's why I actually took less time in communication, wanted to share something about networking. And Ali Bhai has been the key person who I learned networking from. So thank you, Ali Bhai. Thank you for all the lessons. At the end, what you mentioned about Cyber Inc. that I call Cyber Inc. is basically, guys, your footprint on internet. That means recently, I don't know if you know, if you read about Harvard rejecting 10 people based on their cyber ink. That means the way they communicated in social media, Facebook. So, and that's what is very important for us, for especially people who are applying for higher studies, to understand how important it is for you to make sure that you're not posting any random things on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn as such. One of the key things that I always remember is to actually not talk about religion and politics especially in professional gathering or in something it's okay to have a view about religion and politics, but as long as you're not forcing it. Just Ali Bhai mentioned, agree to disagree. But sometimes when it comes to religion and politics, it becomes there's a lot of tension going on. So try to avoid that when you try to network with people. Unless you find out it's a very nice networking gathering, unless you find that you can definitely communicate, put your views forward, and everybody is open to it, then it's a different thing. Then you can express your knowledge. But the point is, you should avoid talking about religion and politics when it comes to especially professors or
Ali, before you go on, let me ask you one question, and I think it'll be good for the other people on the call. You are a very good networking person. I know it. Can you share your own experiences, because I can see in you what you've done in terms of networking with people. Can you share some ideas and thoughts, because it is very, very important how youngsters like you and others on the line right now can engage with people like us who can follow them in their careers and help them. Go ahead.
Exactly, Ali Bhai. Actually, मैं वही बताने वाला था. Actually, I was going to tell about the same thing, Ali Bhai. Or basically, my story started with networking. That means my story of coming to US started with networking. I was in Aligarh. I had no idea that I will be joining a course in US or something like that. It started with networking being first. There was a conference going on in my department of electronics in AMU, and there were two professors from Malaysia who came there, and I was their volunteer in the whole conference. And the dean, actually the chairman of the department, Salim Beg sir, he asked me, Ali, why don't you take them? I see you can be responsible for that. Why don't you take them to Agra and show them the area, and then it will be nice to have an Indian with them, and obviously show them some Aligarh tradition and culture and the way we talk and all those things. Anyway, so I went there. I tried my best. During our drive, we connected. I was listening to them. Again, I was listening to them. I was just speaking about myself. I was sharing my story. I was sharing where I am from, where I was sharing about India. I was sharing about everything. Now, it's also, as Ali Bhai mentioned, it's about sharing and listening. So I was sharing and listening. That's how, I was doing it unintentionally. Guys, what we gave today is not a formula to put in, like all those 7 C's. You don't have to put and create a formula. It will come automatically with experience, but you have to make sure that you remember all those while you communicate. So back to the story. I was communicating with them, and then we had a very good time in Taj Mahal, visiting Taj Mahal and everywhere else. We came back. After 2 months, I got an email from, I was not very good networking at that time, so I didn't follow up very much, but I did actually send up a thank you note saying that thank you, it was very nice to meet you all, and hopefully we'll see each other again. And Professor Chang, who is still a very good friend of mine, he wrote an email, Ali, why don't you come to Malaysia and join us for a 2-3 months internship research associate position in my smart home lab. Free of cost, all covered, nothing. I was not even pursuing that opportunity. It just came randomly in email, Ali, I just put block in a spot for you, just come over here, don't worry about it. I'm like, that was a good opportunity for me not to find an internship. I went there, Malaysia, I spent some time, very interesting work that I did, and then again, it struck me, hey, how important this is. Then I started reaching out to people and sharing my experience in Malaysia. And then again, one of the professors I met, Professor Philip Hall, I told Ali Bhai the story about it. Professor Philip Hall, he in Aligarh, nobody, I'm not trying to say my letter of recommendation was not written by anybody. Everybody wrote my letter of recommendation as a professor, but nobody wrote it original. I have to write it myself and then ask him to sign it. A professor who I met in a conference, and I communicated with him on daily basis, regularly basis. Hey, Professor, Merry Christmas. How is your wife doing? How is your kid doing? I tried to, the way I do it is I try to not make it too personal, but try to make an attachment with them, knowing who they are, because everybody at the end of the day is a human being. You can't expect everybody to be a machine and just refer and use them for referrals or anything. Try to create a friendship with them. Try to understand that they're a human being. And for understanding, if you create a friendship, you have to find if they're right frequency match. You don't want to, put yourself onto them. Hey, my name is Ali, and I don't want to be a friend with you. They don't want to be a friend. It's okay. Read that lines. If they don't want to be a friend, try to find someone who you have a frequency match with. It's okay. It's completely fine. You can't friend 7 billion people in the world. You have to find the frequency match. So I find a very good frequency match with this professor. I always touch base with him, ask him how his family is doing, how things are going with his work, and if I find some, like for example, if I find some great article written by him, I make sure that I read through the article. I quote an important line which I loved, and then quote him in the email or wherever, however I kind of send him a thank you or kind of like congratulate him on the way he wrote the article. And that's why I'm like, Ali Bhai mentioned about this LinkedIn. Hey, congratulations for a new job, right? You can easily just click one button because LinkedIn make it so easy, right? Machine communication. Thank you. Just one word, a smiley. Just, I hate when people send me a thumbs up. Like it shows that you have, like, okay, emojis are very useful for communication, but still it cannot replace the emotional touch and the personal touch that you can create with people. I mean, like, if I am trying to congratulate to somebody, I will always make sure that I will write, and if the person is important to me, I'll write a small note giving a personal touch. Hey, you've been amazing, you've been doing great, the job. How much time it takes to write that? It's always at 10 to 20 seconds. And that 20 to 20 seconds will end up being just jumping the way he sees you, the way your relationship builds, and it makes you feel good as well. Everybody from inside needs that human touch. We just are too afraid to send that message and feel like, okay, will it be okay? He's too senior to me. Will it be okay to send? As long as you're not being too unprofessional, it's completely fine. I told you, it's completely professional, and a human relationship is very important with emotions, and it comes with emotions. You cannot escape emotions out of it. So that was one part. The way when I come to US, the way everything tied up with effective communication plus trust. That is what networking is. So when I came to US, I make sure that when I do a communication, I be original. They don't want a machine. They want somebody who they can see. Oh yeah, Ali, hey, how you doing? How's that part? So make yourself memorable. How's your this doing? How's your martial arts doing? So I share something about myself so that they make myself like, okay, yeah, Ali, you used to work on those technology. Used to work on those. Be passionate about what you speak, guys. It's very important when you speak, you be passionate so that they can connect you very easily to the things, the topic. I remember a lot of people just send me articles. Hey, Ali, I remember you talk about this. Very interesting article, read through it. And then once they send me, just don't say thumbs up. Send them a note. Thank you so much. This article is great. Hey, this is something back to you. This article, I know you also talked about this. Why don't you also read this and let me know? Leave the conversation sometimes open. It's okay to leave it open so that they can get back to you. Those were a couple of touch from my side. Ali Bhai talked about UC Irvine, and also the way I got job in Deloitte is also very funny. My professor from my class, he randomly called me. He said, Ali, I have this partner from Deloitte who's asking me who's looking for campus hires. Why don't you send your resume to us, and then we'll forward. And then I reached out. The very first day, guys, the very first interview of Deloitte I met, had a connection with Aligarh Muslim University. And I was happy, but he was very, says, okay, I'm going to drill you more because I know that you have, Aligarh is a good school, so you know more stuff. So he drilled me a little bit, but your world is too small. Sometimes, so you have to make sure that your network make it more small and make it easy for you to live in this world. MOOCs courses absolutely important. In 2012, I actually did an MIT online course sitting in Nadeem Tareen Hall, sitting in a corner of Nadeem Tareen Hall, room number 137. I still remember. I still have my notes on the wall, and I finished the course with an A grade. And I reached out to the other professor. They replied back. It's amazing. It was a good feeling to get a reply back. And again, replying back, I understood what I was doing wrong. And some people were not replying. So I saw that, okay, my email communication was not right. I was doing mistakes, guys. I was not a perfect person. I was exactly in the same place where you are, writing wrong email communication, making errors and errors. Still do. I mean, like, nobody's perfect. So we have to understand how we can improve ourselves. And this is what the webinar is for, to help you improve. So that is it. Ali Bhai, I think I covered a little bit. I want to respect the time here. Ali Bhai, anything to add? Or?
No, I think we've done a great job. In case I think we've crossed our time limit, but you did a wonderful, your own story is impeccable because this gives a real idea of how important networking and effective communication are. It's your personal story, personal journey from EMU, from there to Malaysia, to the USA, and then of course to a professional job. All things lined in place only because, of course, you have got the basic, things of being smart and a degree and, bright scholar and so on, but these things play a very important role. So amazing story that you just mentioned. So from Aligarh to America has been in much part because of communication and effective networking and communication.
Absolutely. I think 80% is networking and communication, and 20% is what I am. Believe me, I really see the value of this webinar and the topic that we're discussing, guys. I'm like, no matter what you study, I remember a presentation of a PhD which we were giving in my school in UC Irvine in California. The PhD person has amazing patent and the work that he has done. And the professor asked me, Ali, why don't you join him and make a presentation out of this? I was amazed because he was not speaking about the product that he developed. And when I presented it, and although I presented it, I was passionate about it. And he felt, Ali, you just made my $1,000 idea to $1 million idea. So it's very, very important the way you communicate and interact with people. I'm like, it will take you a long way, and it's not a completely different area. It's including your PhD, your technical work, what you do. You just add additional, एक अच्छे से खाने हैं, उसका खाना ऊपर से मक्खी लग रही है तो कोई अच्छा कितना भी अच्छा हो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. But you make it properly, clean it, nice, box it. That's how it will make a complete package.
So later on, Ali, would you share the details with them so in case anybody has questions they want to talk to
Absolutely.
us?
Ali, I'll share all the yes. So that's what my last slide was. I will follow up with materials with scholars, presentations presentation copy, this presentation copy, email communication template to reach out to professors from MS, PhD, and anything else that you guys need, let me know. If you're not a scholar, if you join this call, thank you so much, because I have put this in public on Facebook. So reach out to us, contact at ssgsa.usa, and I will make sure that you'll get the presentation copy. The recording is also available, so I will be posting online the recording, so you don't have to worry about presentation. You can go through, but if you don't want to go through 1 hour and 30 minutes of presentation, you can quickly skip through presentation. I hope you're taking notes. With that, I think thank you so much. Ali bhai, we can take questions for 5-10 minutes, and then. So, guys, if you have questions, please raise your hand or say yes, or type your questions on chat box, and then I'll open the line for you. Or let me unmute everybody so that just speak. So let me know who has the first question. Ali Khan, I see that you are speaking.
Well, we can't hear him.
Yeah, Ali Khan, you're trying to speak. Did we have something called ask your questions in the networking, Ali? I think we had. So, guys, ask the questions. The very purpose of this presentation was to make sure you ask questions, and so I hope everybody has questions. Just don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, any questions you want to ask, which is appropriate, will be appropriate. Don't worry about it if you have any questions. But if you don't have any questions, that's fine too, because it means we have been very effective in communicating on this webinar. If you have no questions then. But if you have, please just ask any question.
Yep. Ali Khan, you have any question? I think Ali Khan, you are speaking. Why don't you put your question on the chat box? Because we can't hear you. That'll be perfect.
So which means that there might have been some people who could not hear what we were talking about, or they couldn't listen, because I saw earlier he had a chat that he couldn't listen to what we were saying.
Yeah, anyway, now he can listen to us, anyway, but just I think he's not able to speak to us.
Is he muted right now or no? If you can unmute
no, I unmuted everybody. So if anybody who's speaking, we can't hear you, just type on chat box your name, and then so all right, so I think we don't have any questions then. Vibhu Washne has one question. Vibhu, I can hear you. One second. Yeah, I think you can speak now. With 1 second, hold on. Yeah, you can speak now. Vibhu, go ahead.
Hello? Yeah. Good morning, Ali bhai.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Ali bhai.
Good morning.
Yeah. Actually, it isn't a question, like it's just experience that when I go to a conference and I met a professor there, but I didn't make a contact. I remember his name, but I wasn't no in the enlightenment of what the value of effective communication is. So is there any way like I can communicate still and like through Facebook, or I can find, or will it be odd like after 1.5 years suddenly I'm just texting him or sending him a request?
So the question I think is that you met somebody at a conference about 1.5 years ago, and you did not get to speak with him, but you want to now connect with him.
Yep, agree.
Yeah,
that's the question. Right,
I think it is a definite. You can look at it in a very positive way, and let me give a little response, a 30-second response to you. It would be a very good if you connect with the person, because they will feel that they were so effective that you remember them even after 18 months of time passing. So that would be a good thing for them, that somebody even now remembers them, their talk, or they were at a conference or something. So do go ahead, reach out to them, and I'm sure. And when you're writing to them, just tell them, for example, I was there, I could not meet you, and of course I remembered, and I want to connect with you, and they will. It is a very good feeling to talk to somebody and say, I saw you 1.5 years ago at so-and-so conference, and I want to talk to you now. I think it's a very positive thing to do.
Yeah, Alibhai, just to add to that, एक चीज मैं करता हूँ, विभू, very good question actually. वो क्या, for example, कभी-कभी you meet somebody and then you forget them, of course, and then you after 6 months you read some articles or a paper from that professor or something, right? And then you say, oh, I remember this person was there in this conference 6 months ago. Why don't I send a thank you note saying, hey, this article was amazing. I remember meeting you, this and this. That kind of great commonality, like a common thing. So if maybe, for example, you can do this thing, if you know the professor is, you read something about him or something like that, you say, congratulate him on this and this work. This is great work. I've been reading this. Like give a personal touch to it. What do you think, Alibhai?
That's very, very good, because once you give that touch to them, they will come back to you and engage with you, because they will see the genuine desire to contact them. So they will come and network with you. They'll respond to you positively.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vibhu. And anything else, Vibhu? Any follow-up question?
Well, just one more question. I was hesitating, but now I think I can ask. There's one manager where I did internship in ST Microelectronics, and he treated just like a younger brother to me, and give me so much advice, and I'm in touch also. I was in touch before around a year, but afterward I think his number changed or whatever. I lose contact on WhatsApp, and I am not connected through Facebook to him. And when I go to LinkedIn, I saw there wasn't any option to send requests. It was like in mail. So how to connect to them?
Okay, so it's a good question. I think even if you look at the person's name, if it's there, if you don't connect with them, you can always search them on the social media. I mean, you can find them on Google, for example. They will be somewhere. You would know where they're working. But if not, then you may connect with somebody who is a premium member of LinkedIn, and they can help you find the person's email or a phone number and connect with them. And once you connect with that person, they will be so happy because you took the extra effort to track him down, to track his contact, his telephone number, and all that stuff. So he'll be very positive about you contacting him. So you have to find some way, and if you want to, you can send the person's name or whatever you have, and one of us can search him out for you and help you out. But if you have somebody in your contact who has got a premium LinkedIn profile, they can surely find his name or telephone number or his email address for you.
Yep. Thank you. I think that's That's correct. And I think the way we also taking another idea is to ask someone who is a common contact. For example, if you know somebody who know that person, maybe he has a contact. He's a contact. And like try to see a third connection or second connection. Try that as well, apart from LinkedIn. So thank you, Ebo, for your question. I'm unmuting you. I'm muting you actually. Ali bhai, we have one question from Afreen Khan on a chat box. She says how to connect with people having the same research domain from different parts of the world or particularly India. Likewise, in terms of published papers. Secondly, how to make sure that your idea still remains secure. Interesting question.
That is a very interesting question. What was the first part of the question again, Ali?
How to connect with people having the same research domain from different parts of the world or particularly India. And then basically same question, but like once you connect, how to connect, and then how to make sure that your idea still remains secure.
So I think once you say how to remain connected is, you probably follow conferences or wherever they are, and that will be one way. For example, in an industry, I know which company is doing what they are doing, what is what's going on. Same way, I think you also can by going to your own seminars or symposiums or poster presentations. This is how you'll connect with them. And the second question was, how do you want to maintain the secrecy of your research
ideas?
Ideas, yeah. That is a very interesting way. You only have to listen more and talk less. I think that might be one of the ideas I can share. But this is, it happens everywhere. If you have an idea and you do not act upon the idea, over the years, the idea gets in a junk box. It does nothing to you. And I will give you just one example so you can see what I'm talking about. We work in the area. I also volunteer as a president of Vision Aid, as Ali Muzaffar mentioned on this slide. And about 2.5 to 3 years ago, we were looking at, see, if somebody blind and they want to go to a party, they want to eat something, they want to do something, how do they find out what clothes to wear? So if there's a blind person and he wants to go to a party, he wants to wear a white shirt and a blue trousers, how will he do that? Ghar pe koi nahi hai, wo akela hai. How will he do that? So there was an app that was created, and that app is called Be My Eyes. And it was an idea that we conceived a few years ago, probably 4.5 years ago. We were talking to somebody at a conference, and now that app is a reality. It is. You can go and find the app. It's called Be My Eyes. And what happens is there are about 500,000 people who have become members of this app or loaded the app on their phones. When the blind person wants to need some help, for example, I want to eat, is this milk expired or not expired date on the milk carton? He can't read, it's not on Braille. So he can press a button on the app, and anybody in the area who is available will connect, pick up his call. He can then turn on his video and show the milk carton and say, hey, I need some help. Can you tell me what the date of expiration on the milk carton is? Or if he wants to eat, say, a Tylenol or aspirin, or if the expiration date on the aspirin is okay, he can show it, or he or she can show their closet and say, I'm looking for a red shirt. Which one is the red shirt? So the person across the 7 seas is viewing the video, or like a FaceTiming thing. They can show, or the third thing on your right, put your hand right here, this is your shirt to wear. So this was the idea, but it was not held back by the person who thought of the idea, and later on somebody made an app. So you are right, absolutely right. You have to find a way to hold on to your thoughts or to your ideas, because if you don't, it will be in public domain. And if you don't use your idea, people will grab on and life will go on.
Yep, I agree, Ali bhai. That's a very interesting question. One thing to add to that is like, lately I was working. I'm actually working right now with a non-profit. I'm saying a startup. And when they reached out to me with this idea, I think Ali bhai, you know that about this NDA thing, right? Non-disclosure agreement. So just a piece of paper which says that this is this and this is my idea, and then I'm discussing it with you. After the one thing that you need to make sure that whichever idea you're discussing, first you have to develop that trust in that person. So if you know, I'm like reading the people and who they are is very important. So make sure that you don't say it in the very first and second interaction. Make sure that you develop a trust. Give them a hint of what are the areas that you're working with, and then kind of disclose that after coming to a mutual agreement that okay, this is a great idea or something like that. But apart from what Ali Bhai discussed, generally some ideas like which are very open. Hey, I discussed this and this. But when it comes to too technical, then you can disclose NDA. That is very important. But if it's not too technical and just app idea, obviously it comes with a cost of making sure that you are not talking too much. So create that distance if you want to have that secrecy, obviously, but also there are ways to sign an NDA and everything. And the first part, how to connect with people having the same research domain. Reach out, use different forums, LinkedIn, and find different research forums. Reach out to them, find commonality between them and you. Find an alumni who knows them, quite possible all the time. Find alumnus. For example, Ali Bhai knows a lot of people in Harvard. So if I want to study in Harvard Business School, I will reach out to Ali Bhai. Ali Bhai, I want to know about Harvard, this area. Can I interview or can I ask this person? Can I have an informational interview with him? So and Ali Bhai said, absolutely, I'll get in touch with him, and then he'll put me in touch with that person. So that's how I connected with the same research domain, right? So you use your network, you can use your email communication and everything else. So that's what I hope we answered the question, Afreen. I think Ali Bhai, that's anything Ali Bhai to add to
no, thank you. I think we've crossed our limit, I think, but thank you. I think an engaging webinar, and thank you so much. But the people can always connect with you or with me or on LinkedIn or Facebook and ask any further questions. But I think it was a great experience talking to them, and I hope they can benefit from this for future. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Ali Bhai. Thank you so much, Vibhu. Thank you so much, Azman, Ahashir, Arpit, Ali Khan, and Afreen. It was a great, I hope this will be helpful for you all. And I'll be following up and look for the link of the recording. And good luck to you. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Thank you.